So this is part two of building your uh mech ideas, semi-crazy, semi-normal mech ideas in trailmakers, and we built this BB-8 in the last one, and I think that it looks really cool, and I want to do some more cool stuff like that in this one. I think we're gonna do two ideas in this one. I think I have like six ideas total, maybe seven, but I want to do two more in this one at least, and one of them is kind of small, and then one of them's I want to put a lot of effort into it. And the first one we're going to do is a bed that walks and has a monster under the bed that pops out at high speeds when you press a button, using pistons, like an attack, and maybe a piston glitch the seat to only show the head at the top of the bed so it looks like you were sleeping. And this is by Hamby with about 7 E's on YouTube. So I've placed some little cylinders as posts, and I think I can get a steering hinge in here and in right here for that. And then a bed panel is gonna go, we're gonna use this probably about here, and then I can use this panel like this to go like that. The legs are intentionally disconnected because I want to add another hinge. So these are also going to go back here. And I haven't thought too much about this, but I have a general idea of what I want to do. And I think I want to have this here. Place a little bedpost kind of thing. And then, actually not going to do that. We're just going to have this be a flat post. And then what we can do is have the other part of the leg pop out like that. And then use pipe pieces like this. Duplicate that over to this side. And then we have to make some sort of headboard behind here. So I think we're just going to do that. And then go to blocks, 2x2. Get something like this going. I think that this is where we're going to use the other blocks. The rounded wedge. And then we're going to have a seat there so that we can have it popping out, and then we're going to, like, connect it with pistons. We'll, like, cover it up with a piston. So then the blanket can kind of go right here. Maybe right there. Yeah, I think that this is going to be the blanket level. So we're going to set that to... red seems decent enough. And then connect that over there. And I kind of want to have some sort of slope here. Like the bed, like you're tucked into the bed. But I also want that to be on a piston because we need to cover this up somehow. Which means grabbing a piston, and I want to put it right here so that when it goes fully down, the block on top of it is the connecting block. And then I think I can just go like this, and then it'll be fine. And then I need to do this. Delete that for now. I'll probably do something like put this here. Just make it so that it can't connect. And then this will be red. And we can have this on top as the sort of like blanket thing. Covering the rest of your body. Well, we're only gonna do it 2x1 command. Duplicate that. Paint that the red color. And then have a pillow right here. And that is going to be white. And then when the pistons collapse, I say pistons, there's only one, I'm going to duplicate that. We're going to have it be start position 0, speed 0. And then... for what we have in, like, trailmakers in terms of the seats, I think that this isn't that bad. So then I'm going to paint up the rest of the bed area red, and then paint these into being wood. And then, this is actually one of the rare cases where I am going to get to use the wood texture. And I find that really cool. Because I do not use that texture a lot, and I've been looking for something to use it for. Wood. And then the reason we have these little things here is that I wanted to use the small eyeball as a little post on top of the bed. And then we can paint those same color, and then make those out of wood. It actually just makes this like really cool little design. And now all we have to do is make it walk and then add the monster. Okay, so when I press left, I want this one and this one to activate, but I don't want these ones to. So I'm gonna turn this one around, turn that one around, that one can stay, turn this one around, and turn this one around. So that way, if I press A, lots of glitchy things happen. It doesn't seem to like the pillow that much. I wonder if I can use these for a pillow. I wonder if it'll be any better. Oh, I know part of the issue. These didn't get configured to be the same. I duplicated it and it completely lost that it was at 0. Okay. And then all I should need to do is remove the control that is making this go this way. So on this it is D. On this one it is A. If this is going this way, then yeah, on this one it's A. On this one I believe it's also D, and then this one should also be A. Yeah. And then this doesn't quite walk yet. And I want to add a duration to all of these, but it does do what I wanted it to. Okay, and then I'm going to select all of these and set a duration to them. Actually, we're going to make this a little bit faster. We're going to set all of the speeds to 2. And then we're going to select these and maybe 0.3 duration. No, I think we need a higher duration than that and a higher angle. So I can set these to maybe a 60-degree angle and a 0.5 duration. It's very glitchy. I don't think it likes me piston glitching it and having moving things right next to that. And then I'm also like putting a hinge inside of a hinge right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this be just a duplicate of that, and then move this down like that. And then that's kind of cut off, but I don't want it to be like that. So we're going to have it be one in the center and then slope it out right there and there. Like, just duplicate this over. And then have slopes right there and there. And then this will kind of act as kind of the blanket, like, not being a solid object as much. And then duplicate that over. And then how does that do? Because it's not just clipping that hinge with a different hinge. And then, like usual, I want to have an XOR gate. Oh, this is facing backwards. I want to have an XOR gate for moving the limbs backwards. So when I move this limb backwards, which is D, I want to have this on D. I keep misclicking. And then have this output be only like 0.7. And then we're going to connect that to this, and then disconnect D from both of those controls. And then I want it when it's A to do the same exact thing, this time on the -1, and we're just gonna swap over which ones we have. Then we're gonna disconnect A from both of these. So then if we go like that, the A goes back a lot less than the D goes forwards. Well, actually, it just goes forwards more than it goes backwards, and then we can configure this a little bit more. Maybe go 0.8, so that's kind of a, like, less of an angle to go on. And then that's honestly not too bad. I think that that was a bit too long of a duration, so I'm going to set that to 0.4. Yeah, and then that works out well. Okay, now we just need to automate this, and I'm going to do that using logic gates. And I want a logic gate right here and here, like those two, and then... Yep, just right there and there. Move those... Well, I think that that's fine. You know what? Just because of aesthetic, I am going to put them right here. Set both of them to W, set it to... duration, probably about 0.6. Pause, 0.6. And then one of these is going to be alternating from that, and this is going to be 0.6. So what that does is when we push W, it alternates between the two. Then this will be the forward, back that the legs have. And then I just need to hook this up into stuff. And actually, one of these needs to have a separate XOR for being negative. And then this is running into that. And let's say that pressing A is the first step, so we need the top, the top left and the back right to go forwards, which is negative. So the first one here has a negative switch, and then this negative one is going to run into the top left and the back right, which are on A. And then it's going to run into these two, which are also on A. And that's going to be the step forwards. And that's kind of already working. However, it's not... I don't think it's going to be, like, a long enough thing. So we're going to set both of these to 0.8, 0.8, and don't forget to set the delay on this one to 0.8. Okay, and then that's much better. And then what we need to do is set the opposite of that, so this to be going into this A logic bit. So we need to have this, which is the negative side, which is because we have negative on this, running into that. Oh, that's the wrong side, okay. And then we have that running into that. Oh, are we flipping the negative twice? So we're not going to have that running into that, we're going to have this running into that. Okay. Yeah. And then they do that. Now we just have to program the other side. It'll be exactly the same. So we have the positive version of this running into all of these right here. And then that should be almost walking, yeah. It's walking kind of well, but all we need to do is set this gate into this thing. Do we need it to be negative? I don't know. I'm just gonna set it like that. Yeah, we did need it to be negative, and that'll just cause that to do the little step back that it does. And then I'm going to put friction pads on all of the feet, because it is slipping traction-wise, because this is really not that heavy. And then set that to that. Make it wood just because, even though it's a less noticeable texture on that one, because it's small. Yeah, and then we can kind of hop along. And then we are going to add a gyro, which is right here, into this. Configure that, maybe 3 strength, we're only at 82, and 3 seems a little much. 2 strength, because we're at 82 kilograms, and these will... Well, you know what? Let's just set it to 10 to show you what it does. It kind of like vibrates it if it's not moving enough weight, because it gets in a feedback loop because it doesn't have enough dampening from the weight. So let's just set it to about that. Yeah, and then we can go like this. Okay. And then one of the next steps is to unconfigure all of the controls from all of those and from these. And then left and right are no longer options for that control. And then I'm going to take apart that and replace it with this, because I want to add a turning gyro in there. Right in that little pocket there. And then we're going to paint all of these red. And then we have just a basic walking bed, which I think is not bad. And then I thought that having 2 blocks on the bottom was a little bit too high. So I lowered it, and that gives us like more room to actually hide the monster at all. Because right now, it is not at all hidden. It is not at all existent either. But I don't have a ton of room to hide anything down there. And for some reason I have this idea of like a shadow hand in my head, and I think that that will look good. So I'm gonna put these like that. Should I do 3? Yeah, I'm gonna do 3, because the less human-like is more monster-like. And then we can have them angling outwards. I don't think I'm gonna make the middle one angle at all. So that one is just going to be a pipe like that. And then these two are going to be on maybe a 8-degree angle-ish. And speed that, hold position. And then we need to connect this to pistons, so we're going to go like this. The thumb is also going to go out about that much. You know what, the thumb's going to go down about that much. And now we just have to connect this, which looks a little bit like connecting that to that. Putting a 2x1 there. I could have done this with 2 2x3s, but also this is less limiting. You know what, I'm actually going to do this with 1 1x3 and a 1x2. So that way I can have, like, room to put this here, kind of part of the palm. And then this goes here, which I guess makes this a little bit odd. Which I have solved by using 3 1x2s. So now we have like a little monster hand. I'm going to replace one of these with a NOR gate, just to trigger all of these. Right out there. I did misclick there. And then we need to make it connected to the bed and then retract. So we're going to have this here. We're going to paint this red. Just because it's a little bit extra of the blanket, you know. And then connect that to there. Connect this up. We're going to paint this, like, shadowy, so I think that glow works pretty well. And then this needs to all be starting position 0. I always like to, like, confirm it and then check, because recently the sliders didn't, like, they don't like to save half the time, like when I duplicated this thing and then it just didn't save the slider position. And then we're going to set the speed to 100. We could do negative 100, although I think that that'll be too fast, and then it'll just, like, cause us to fling. And we're going to set this to space. Okay, so now I put the pistons in. I had to move this a little bit, and then I actually put this here. I don't need that there. That was from a different tested design. But the piston is now going, like, into the hand so that we can retract it fully under the bed like that. And then it can, like, reach out and jab to the side of it, which I think is a monster under the bed attack. So that is 1 of 2 done. I'm gonna save that up, and then, yeah, that works for that. We can walk along, and then I can turn. although I want to make the turning more powerful, so we're going to set this to 4. We have to flip that over, and I want to set it to a little bit less strength, so we're going to go 3. And then, yep, that works out. And then we can grab. So the next suggestion is by the YouTube user Life According to Max. It was 7 days ago. They suggested a Star Wars bot, and I asked which, because technically the BB-8 does count as a Star Wars bot. But I didn't want to do, like, 2 for 1, and I also really wanted to make a different Star Wars bot as well. So I asked if they had a preference which, and yesterday they actually replied, didn't see this until the video came out, but I don't have a preference, so the part 2 or 3, if I want to pick, then that's fine. So I wanted to do a B1 battle droid, because those things are really cool. So I've pulled up a reference image for this one, and I think I'm going to start from, like, the feet up, because that just seems like a good place to start, and I don't want to make it too big, like, I'm not going to make a massive mech, but I do want it to be detailed, so I think what I'm going to do is, I think that this is going to be the foot. Like, I think that that's just a good shape for the foot. It kind of follows how the actual foot goes, and I think that that's decent. And now I kind of want to pick a color just to start out. How is that? That's honestly not too bad. I think that this is the best color for that. And then I have to add a hinge for the ankle. Not really sure how much this is going to do. I'm gonna... You know what? I'm gonna set my base color to this, so that I can just place things in like that, and then I can reset it later. Now, from my reference image, the shin seems to be about 1.5 feet, like, of these feet long. So I think that equates to, like, 3 blocks. In height, I would say it's about 3, which is the height of this, so I think that that's decent, although I don't want to just have this. So what we're going to do is detail this a little bit. This is going to go here, and then we're going to have a 1x4 here, and then I kind of want to do the side with 1x3s, like that. And then, that is a little bit bulky, but I'm not sure what else to do. We could do a good old mirror there. Because, like, if we have a mirror here, then we can paint it, like, it's already painted correctly. I then unpainted it correctly, so I'm just gonna delete that. Put that back there, because that's gonna be more efficient. Duplicate that, and then use decals to make the face of the mirror all the correct color. And then we can use that to fill out the plate that doesn't super, like, have a ton of detail there, but it does extend out. And then the droids actually have, like, a large circle there, so I'm just gonna use this. Like, I feel like that's a decent size for that. I think it fits in well, and then I can attach it using one of these. And then I wish I could put one of the eye panels just directly over that, but I can't really. So I'm gonna attach this to the next part using this. I will duplicate this over to the other side when I'm done building, and then I have to do some programming. And then that part connects up directly, I would say using like a 1-block connection maybe. And then it extends into a 2-block. Is that how I want to do that? Maybe, maybe not. Except this front part is, like, decently bulkier than the other part. So I am going to use some more panels here. Oh, I know how I can do this. I can use a wedge here. Yeah, that looks good. And then it kind of goes like this, and then connects like that. It's kind of weird. Like, it's a weird little notch thing. I honestly kind of think that it goes something like this afterwards. Because it does, like, fade back in. And I can duplicate that there. And then I need to add some of these here. Just like so. And then, I'm looking at the design. Probably need another one of these here. And honestly, I don't think that that's too bad. I need another circle up here, though. And then I will actually add that on the inside here. Where is it? It's in structure. I will add that weight in the inside here, because there is a bit of a, like, this kind of thing in between the two things. Okay, and then there's some form of, like, block in the center that is then detailed, but I want to get the other leg on. And I want to see if this is the correct distance apart. This does seem like the correct distance apart. I mean, it might be a little wide, but, like, I don't know how I would shorten that more. Oh, I guess I could make this a one-block thing. And then I'll have to use, like, I'll have to use a motorcycle seat, but I can put that in the backpack pretty easy. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so I have a little bit of that panel structure down, but I want to add a... not that. This to here. And then I can build out more of the structure. And then this kind of... no, I don't want it that far forwards. So I do want this. And then I want this 2x2 block back. And then honestly, there's just like a little part that goes up. And like I'll probably put a wedge on this. 4x1 wedge. But then there's this little front part that is just kind of a panel that slopes out these bits. So I think what I'm going to do here is put that there, and then we can put two things like that there. And after this little slope up, it kind of goes to a slope back in, like that, almost immediately. So we're going to do that there. And then the side parts kind of like taper out a little bit. So we're going to have this here and this here. Do I want to use the 3x1s? I think I do. So we're going to use the 3x1s for this. The back is just a flat panel, so we definitely can use these for that. And then it is a 2-block there, so we can just extend this 2-block up. And then these keep going up. I'm just gonna duplicate these to this side. And then they actually don't stop until the very top. So I'm gonna delete that, put a 2x1 here, and then duplicate this over here. And this is the general, like, rib cage. No, not rib cage. That's not the right word. This is the spine, the beginning of the spine-ish. Okay, then around, like, right here, there is just a little hose pipe thing that goes out. And it kind of goes like one of these. I'm going to delete this too. One of these, and then I want to put this back in for the paneling. And then it just curves to a 45-degree diagonal-ish. Not quite 45. But it goes like this. And then I can put that there. The real one is a bit rounder than this, but I just can't really do that here. So we're not gonna. And then put this here. We're gonna swap these out for one of the 45-degree ones. Duplicate this here. And then we have this little curve here that they have on them. And then this just goes up into a smaller panel afterwards. Not a smaller panel, a smaller pole thing. It's hard to describe. but it's fine. And then we can have this just go around here, and that connects into the upper torso, like the rest of this. Okay, and then the torso has a bit of a gap there, and then I would say connects with one of these about here, and then we can duplicate this down, slide that over, and that leaves room for the attachment here. Honestly, I think that maybe one lower is good, but then that's like a good setup for that. And that continues up until... I wouldn't say that far out. That's probably good. Yeah, I don't hate that. And then this connects just with a flat beam. I'm gonna need to use 3 of these. Oh no, that's not gonna work. How does that look? That's honestly not too bad. And then this connects here. I'm gonna make this another of the 2x1's blocks connection. And then I want to add a hinge to here, and that's gonna connect all of that. This middle panel is just, like, the side of this is just fully filled out with blocks. And then there's these little, like, attachment blocks that connect to these to everything, but I honestly think that I can just use, like, maybe that? Something like that? How does this one do? That's not too bad. It's a little big. And then I would say that this goes up for 1 or 2 blocks. I'm gonna do 2. Just because. And then it starts to, like, slope out and, like, curve back. So I think that we can get that same general idea using some of these wedges. And I want to see if I can use... Yeah, that's not gonna work. I feel like Trailmakers is... It's not, like, designed for... It's not that it's specifically designed against odd-width builds, it's just that a lot of the mechanics are for even-width builds. Because with even-width, if I had this, I could put this here and right here, and then that would work, but, like, that's too big for my specific use case in this scenario. So I'm just gonna use this, although, yeah, these are odd-width still. So, it's really not too bad. And then for this bit, I'm gonna leave a gap in the middle, because it has a gap in the middle in the actual bot. So this would just be, like, this, and then like that. And then, yeah, that's fitting for that. And then I have to duplicate this over here. And then the sides of the bot are just... The sides and back are kind of just flat from this design. Yeah, and then I can actually add the seat in this little, like, compartment in the chest, and I really don't think that that's going to be that bad. Yeah. And if I spawn this in, it's probably not gonna... Yeah, it's not gonna stay level, because I don't have any gyro stabilization yet. But this isn't terrible. Okay, so now I have, like, this basic thing, and I don't think that this is that bad. Honestly, this is pretty good. I think the next step would be to work on the arms, which the center of the pivot point is about here. And then I'm going to build the arms already semi-positioned, because I want to make this holding a blaster, and that's kind of hard to do, like, if it's not already semi-positioned. It's not impossible, it's just hard to do. And then the arm, like, joint thing kind of goes like this, and then it connects right... Where's the block? Right here, with one of these. And that's kind of just what the arm block looks like. Although, it is kind of out a little bit more. So we are going to extend this like that. And yeah, that's decently fitting. So then we're going to... You know what? I'll copy it after. It has a little breakup line here, but I don't think that that's... that's probably a hinge. Okay. So we're going to make the creative liberty of making this a 3x1. So that we can have a hinge here for going, like... It's kind of what your shoulder would do to rotate... Okay, if you stick out your forearm, and then, like, move it left and right, it's kind of that rotation mechanism. And then we can have this connected to... It's basically a block, but I don't think that's going to work. Because this top bit would just connect. So what we're going to do is, just for now, we can replace this with more, like, actual logic later. But for now, we're going to replace it with just a random, like, number display. And that way, when we do the logic, we can go back in and just replace that. And then this panel goes in by a block. I'm not sure how to do this, but I want this to be a solid block. And I kind of want this to, too. Do I just do it like that, and then connect these like that? I don't hate that idea. Yeah, that's not too bad. I ended up favoring having the block here, and then connecting it like that. But honestly, that's not too bad. The problem with that being is that this then, like, extends a little bit extra bit. We're just going to ignore that extension there, because it would be half of a block at this scale, and I don't want to deal with half blocks. So we're just not going to deal with that. Okay, and that extends by an extra about that much. And then there is, like, this little piston solenoid thing in here. So we are going to replicate that. And then I'm just gonna hook up, where is it? It's in streamlining. One of these to there. And then that kind of looks accurate. And then we have another round hinge here. And, I'm gonna delete that. Put another 2x2 here. I'll put this in here. And then connect this right here ish. It needs to go a little bit more down. But then I can't connect that the same way. Okay. That's not the end of the world. And then that's basically the same thing that we had going on here. So we're going to cap this off like that. Okay, now that we have that, we can connect the arm like this. And then have this going out. However, there is a bit of a weird thing with this. It almost immediately goes like this. So we're going to have that after a block, but still. And then connect that to there. Can I make this actually work as a hydraulic, though? If I connect this by disconnecting that, and then... you know what, we'll use another one of these. Then I can use a steering hinge here, and then... set the strength to 0. I'll put that there, too. And then that way, if I contract it, then very bad things happen, never mind. How about if I lower this, and then put a piston here, connecting that, and then have this be on here, and this raised up to fit that, and then these are just gonna automatically go to 0 at whatever speed. and then this just has to connect directly to this. So, like, I need a 3x1 pipe right here. Why aren't these contracting? Why is it uneven ground? Tell me what a part of this is uneven ground. Now, I found out one of my problems. I kept selecting both of these, and then typing in 0, and then I would exit out, and then I would select both of these, and then it's not turning one of them to 0, and it keeps doing that, and I don't know why. Okay, I actually have a working system now. It will contract to lift, and it will, like, go down to do that. I think I'm going to reverse it so that this is at starting position 0, and then it has to left-click to do that. So that way we're automatically at this position, like, where you can hold it like this. But honestly, this is not too bad. Okay, and then the actual, like, wrist part starts with this little, like, tube joint in the middle. Honestly, I think that... No, one isn't enough. No, I don't think I'm gonna do it like that. I think that I'm gonna do it kind of like this, where I have one thing, and then I can go down here, and I can use tubes like that. And then, what happens after that? Okay. So we have this, and then I would say that it extends out another block, and then into a 2x1 like that. Oh, wrong way. Which then connects to a, like, just completely separate arm post right here. And then that continues for, yeah, I'd say about that long. And there's one of these on the other side, too. And then this continues down here. And then these connect to a little wrist joint, which is kind of cool. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. Like that, maybe? Oh, no, I know. I can connect it like this, and then have another block there. Connect to this like that. Put that there. Remove those. Put these forwards by one. These two and these two forwards by one. These back by one. And then we can have a eye panel for right here. And then we can duplicate this over here. And then we have the little wrist joint. And then we can attach... how does that look? It honestly kind of just looks like the hood right here. Okay. And then that extends into basically a T-joint, which the hand is on. Oh, is that attached? Oh, okay. So I think that this part's attached, and would go like that. And then, not band block. Why can you band blocks in single player again? Maybe just to give yourself challenges, maybe? I don't know. And then I can connect that to there. And now we have a little, like, wrist joint for the hand. And the hands are actually very square. And I honestly think that this is just too bulky of an arm for this. Okay. How do I trim this down? Can I go like that, and then disconnect that out. Take this out. Delete one of those, put it over here. Slide this arm, put the thing back in place. Is that the right length? That looks about the right length. Although I wish that I could have this a little bit closer. Okay, so then I'm gonna have, instead of a whole rotational hinge there, I can just have this be one of those. And then have the hand be 3 instead. And just connect to this directly. And then I can have this connect to that. And this connect, so it still has the little, like, round part where it connects. Yeah, and then we can just connect that like that. Okay. Okay. And then from that, we can have a little hand bit here. Connect that with the cylinders here. Like so. And then, I wanted to connect these, but I'm not sure I can. Because they have fingers, but they seem to be, like, connected at the knuckle. So it's really quite strange. And, like, I can do that for there. And I guess I can do this for here. But that's just really odd. And then I have to, like, add to this, and then I just have one more tube block there. But then this hand is really long, so I guess I should probably, like, cut that down. No, this hand is still really long. This whole arm is. I can probably cut out that bit. Just move this up. Now that seems more proportional. And then it does need, like, a little thumb thing. I think what I'm gonna do for that is just have this, and then... Yeah. I can use a cross like that to make it look like it has a joint, and then it doesn't. Okay. I like how that's turned out so far. We are getting a little bit complex for me, and we're at 400. I bet we can. I bet we'll be fine. So then if I select all of that like that, then I can duplicate this over here. Yeah, and we have just this, like, basic droid setup. I kind of like this. Okay. And then we can control to lower the hands, we can control to raise them. I do want a NOR gate to automatically rotate these outward. We're just gonna go for 90 degrees, because it can rotate 90 degrees. 90 degrees, both of them facing on the outward direction. This is gonna be a nightmare to program, but I'm sure it's gonna be fine, because one of the arms can just be loose and then attached to the gun. Like, I could totally just have the gun placed like this, have one of the arms fully loose, and then, like, I can have the gun placed like this. Although I might just give it one-handed blaster. I think that that'll be better. Oh, I also did add gyro stabilization. And then very weird things happen if you hold either direction. Very, very weird things. But it's fine, that's not even a part of the programming. Yeah, so I've programmed it a little bit. So it's going to have one arm fully up, it's going to have one arm to its side, and I also made the arms sideways because this is going to make it so much easier for the gun and everything, like, around that. And also, we're a little bit high on complexity. I want to get the head and backpack done. Hmm. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of optimization I can do here, like, I'm not gonna, like, run out. Like, even just right here, I can delete those two, and place these instead. Or even, like, here I could just delete a piston. That's not too bad. And then it still has the same strength. But, yeah, that's... this is looking good so far. So I've started to work on the head, and I think I'm gonna build the head vertically. So, like, the head is going to be like this, and then it's gonna position differently. And then, like, the little ear bits that aren't ears are gonna flop down. So we need that there. And that there. Set both of these strengths to 0. And then... I'm kinda gonna... I'm just gonna duplicate these over to here. You know, I then do need some kind of panel there. Because, like, it does have a little flat plate bit. And then this is gonna connect, like, right here-ish. I'm gonna bulk this up a little bit, make sure that this is all intact. Duplicate this over, duplicate that over too. Then I just need a 3 right there. And then I think this moves... Okay, so this moves back a little bit. And then what I have to do is, it's almost a 45-degree angle. What I think I'm going to do is have this here, and then move this to down here. And then that works out. We're gonna have you bound to space, toggle, hold position. What do you do? Okay. So the eyes need to be further down. But honestly, angle-wise, that's not terrible. And then for the little end bit there, I'm going to connect... I don't know how I'm going to do that. Because it has, like, just the smallest little bit on the end. And I'm not certain. I'm thinking maybe coffee mugs? And then if I connect them like that... No, honestly, that's too big. What about just one? Because I don't hate that. Okay. And then I think that that's a pretty good droid head. I mean, I definitely have to add the antenna for it to look right, but that comes with the backpack. So now I have like 70 blocks to do the backpack and blaster. I'm gonna spend some time like going through this, simplifying some of this stuff. Like those are 2 blocks that don't need to be 2. Those are actually 4 blocks that could be 1. So I'm gonna go ahead and simplify this, see if I can get that complexity any down. Okay, so I did some simplification. The back is now like 2 large panels instead of a bunch of small, and I made a gun. It's a model of the SE-14 blaster. Don't look that up, because this looks terrible. And I don't want you to see what it actually should look like. In all seriousness, no, though, that was absolutely a joke. This is not the best model, but I don't think it's too bad. I had to house blasters in it, so it's not the best, but I honestly don't think it's that bad. Okay, now I have to hook up an XOR gate, into the back there. I'm just gonna delete this 1x2. Oh, that was a 2x2. I'm gonna find a 1x2, like this one right here. Delete that, swap that out for a NOR block. That is a number display. I want a NOR block, which is this one, because it has none of the circle filled in, so it's not... It's like a not either gate, because nothing's filled in. And then I'm going to hook that up into this little head joint, so that it'll instantly go down. Okay, that's good. So I've done a bit more, like, complexity, making it less complex, but I've also started the backpack. I completely forgot to record that, like, the starting of that. But I think I have an idea, and we have this general frame. It looks pretty good so far. I think I'm gonna need to replace these, because we need to have it go, like, way further down than that. So I'm gonna... yeah, I'm gonna do it like this. And then just have one of these here, and then do it like this, because it has that little slope in on the back of the backpack. Connect these up. We're a little bit high on complexity, and by a little bit, I mean a lot of it, but I'm not too worried about that. Why? Don't know. But I'm just gonna, like, find more things to simplify. Like, even these can be simple. I guess this part can't. But there's a lot of stuff that can be simplified, especially on the interior stuff. Like, I had to make all of this one block. It used to be 4 blocks like that, and there's just a lot of things to simplify. For instance, this is 3 blocks. It could be 2. It could be 2 blocks right here. So we get an extra block out of that, an extra 2 blocks if you consider this one to duplicate this over. Yeah. Okay, so I've filled this out a little bit. I think it's a good shape so far. Yeah. I might use a decal on this, to be honest. What decals do I have? Because I know that I have the space ones, and I have some of the Motorhead. Well, not some of the Motorhead. I have all of the Motorhead. Is there a Bulldog? Bulldog is part of something else, because Bulldog was before. Okay, so I did the decal on the back. I have, like, done some more complexity simplifying, and then I think I've finished, like, the backpack. I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna pull back up my reference image, but I think that looks great. I think the last thing that I have to really do would be to program the walking in, and then I think we're set. We have left arm, we have right arm, space to fire, we have turning left and turning right. That doesn't break everything anymore. And yeah. Okay, now I just have to program it to walk, and I need to find a place to do the logic for that. I have 4 blocks? Oh, I think that's technically enough. But I want to find a place to, like, remove this stuff from. These are 2 blocks, that could be 1. Don't know why I did that. Okay. Oh, I guess we could use the shoulders here. Okay, I used 4 logic gates, and now I can walk. This is actually walking really well for what I thought it was gonna do. I did tune it a little bit, and this is my first time testing it after making some changes to, like, the duration of the knees and stuff. But this is really not bad. Imagine, like, an army of these marching towards you, and then they just start blasting. That would be really funny. It's kind of a weak blaster. I didn't want it to be, like, gun spam. I've seen so many things that are just gun spam, and I honestly, it's not... I'm not a big fan of gun spam. Anyone can do it, and it's just not, like, skilled fighting in my... Well, it's semi-skilled fighting, but it's not like... It requires much less skill to do that than on, like, a fair playing match. It is cool to see, like, some builds get shredded, but, like, if the point is PvP, I just wouldn't do it. Anyways, I think that's our battle droid all finished up. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, the eyes are a little weird. I can't get 2 decals over them. Like, that's just not how decals work, so I can't put a line in between the circle, like the actual ones have, but I think that this version is not too bad. Okay, so today we made the B1 Battle Droid and the walking bed. And I hope that this video isn't too long. I've basically spent all day making this. Okay, then I go over here, and then I have to spawn in the bed. I can't forget to save that thing. That thing's really cool. And then, yeah. So we have the bed that walks with a monster under it, and then we have the Star Wars bot, which I chose to make a B1 Battle Droid for. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks you for watching. I hope you're enjoying the style of video. If you have any other ideas for, like, any of the stuff, you can go ahead and leave them in the comments if you want. Like, I'm happy to make you guys' ideas, and this B1 Battle Droid is really cool in my opinion. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching. I believe I already said that, but you know what? I hope you enjoyed twice as much. And thanks for watching. See ya!